Is looking deep down the left side, Mendeville into the end zone, touchdown! Down the sideline, still falling to the house.
And the players streaming from the sideline to celebrate with 17 seconds left.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome in again to BVarsity Live here in the downtown Bakersfield, Californian studios. I'm Zach Ewing with Trevor Horn for Thursday, September 10th edition of BVarsity Live. Hey, Trevor.
Yeah, we're moving along, aren't we?
We are. We're into mid-September now, and everything's in my house. Of course, the countdown is all baby related.
Well, I like walking in every day and be like, you got a third one yet? You got a third one yet?
Not yet, but we're getting there. We're 36 weeks today, I think. So we're getting there. Hey, we welcome in today our first cross-country guest of the year. It's Bakersfield High Coach Steve Anderson. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. This is
Get a little closer to that
make
mic,
sure you're
Steve.
right on that
right.
mic,
I'm
Steve.
right on the mic.
All right.
Make
We
it your
appreciate
friend.
that. Yeah, that's always the adjustment period. But cross-country season has begun. It really began locally yesterday with the East Bakersfield Invitational out at Lake Ming. And life as the BHS cross-country coach is easier when you have a Baker running for you, I think, and you have another one. Yeah, Maggie Baker, who finished second yesterday, and again, terrific runner.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is they're great kids and they work so hard. It's just not she doesn't just show up and just is
Sure.
good. And same with her sister. They worked so hard and. Life is really good when you have a Baker. You're absolutely right.
That doesn't happen very often in any sport, but especially in cross country. You don't just show up and and run fast. It's way too hard to do that. Tell us a little more about your team. Maybe some of the other runners, boys and girls side, we don't know about.
Absolutely. The boys right now, we actually have a championship meeting after we stole that from the football team.
That does sound familiar.
When we get back after I leave here today. But the boys right now, great group of guys. I think we're set up really well for the end of the season. We're just kind of meshing together. Everybody's kind of an individual right now, so we're trying to get them together to work together and hopefully make it through the end of the season where it matters. So our big focus is November right now and being healthy then and ready to run fast then.
Absolutely.
Steve, are you going to have a PowerPoint presentation with a laser pointer then?
Maybe.
You got to get into
for those
it
of you
like
who've never
Paul
been to obviously not a lot of people have been into the locker room for a Paul Gola pregame speech, but he's got this incredible 1990s version of PowerPoint where he has photos and it's like the special effects of the things coming up and he reads it word for word. But I'm telling you, man, you want to run through the one. He's got the laser pointer pointing at every word as he's reading it. But as formulaic as it is, you'd run through a wall for that guy after a speech like that.
He should have had you run some drills after you heard it. That'd have been interesting.
No, I just had to sit in the chicken coop.
But seriously, Stephen, you are the only boy sport that runs at the same time as football at BHS, where we know football is sort of the sun at BHS of sports and everything else rotates around that. What is that like? Has there ever been any tension as far as trying to get kids to come out? Have you ever had any difficulty with that?
You're right. BHS football is huge, and rightly so. It's a great program. Paul Gola does an awesome job there. And it was when I first got there, it was a big shock because my football team throughout high school was atrocious.
Okay.
And I think they won 2 games ever, so everybody went out for cross country.
Sure.
And because we were.
Shout to Gooding, Idaho. Why don't we?
Gooding, Idaho. Yeah. We were always ranked in the top 3 in the state, so that was the big thing. And then I came here, and I was like, okay, this shouldn't be too hard. And then everybody's playing football. You got 150 kids on the freshman team, and you're going, they only play 11, So eventually, you work well with everybody. It's such a big school that, you got to always beat the bushes, and then you always look at that football roster from the year before because sometimes those freshmen don't go out as sophomores. So you go after those kids and you get a few there when they don't go back out for football because maybe they weren't seeing enough playing time or the commitment, because the commitment level there is just incredible. Gola has a great program.
It's a good program for a reason. Well, we're going to take a look at some video from yesterday. This is the EB Invitational out at Lake Ming. Trevor shot all this yesterday. Yeah, you had the lighting down. I see.
Hey,
because they started an hour
later. I
later
talked to
because
Mother
of the heat.
Nature, and we just had a good time with it. I love that shot, going up on the hill, Steve, and being able to watch them go through that. That's about a half a mile stretch there between mile 2 and mile 3, and there's Maggie and Cagney.
Yeah, we saw Cagney
pulls
Duncan
her
of
away.
Liberty pulling away from Maggie. But that's, Trevor, you've written about that a couple of times. And Coach, it's a heck of a rivalry. And in cross country, you embrace that sort of thing because it makes you better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cagney, she's no slouch. She's a great runner. And,
Absolutely.
She's obviously put in the work as well. So, yeah, I think, it is a great rivalry. You always hate when it's not your girl winning, but that's why we race another day, and hopefully at the end of the season, it matters. And the good news is they're in different divisions at the Valley meet. Mm-hmm. So,
and the point is too that both of their times will go down more than if they were just pulling away from the pack by themselves.
Absolutely. And you can see in that video it was a 2-person race halfway, so they're pushing each other there.
Sure. Sure. Cross country, one of the things people don't realize is how much difference each course can make. And the most important course in your world is Woodward Park, of course, because that's where the Valley meet is and the state meet is. Mm-hmm. What challenges does Woodward represent, and how do you prepare for it? I know everybody tries to get up there at least once during the season, but
yeah, absolutely. Woodward Park, that's going to make or break your season. That's where it ends. Either you make it to state and you do well at state, or you go home at Valley. And I think that's one of the reasons the Clovis schools have such an advantage over us down here, because that's their backyard,
right?
And they don't have to travel, they don't have to get up there, but. What adjustments we make is you just got to be ready for the hill. There's the big hill in the back, and you have the rollers on the last mile that you got to be ready for. And so we go out to Hart Park and we run in the bluffs, and you got to be ready for the hills. The flat courses are great for a fast time, but it'll eat you up there.
And I think Maggie said, being able to get out there last week like you guys did at the Highlander Invitational, where I think you and I kind of figured that it's one of those races where you're not going to see a lot of Fresno Clovis schools because, like you said, it's that's their practice. But nice to be able to get her out there, run a 20 flat, knowing that when November comes around, she's maybe a little used to it, and the others are a little used to it. Paradise Peltzer did really well, took second. Cadney took third in that race.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The big thing there is just getting used to the course. Kind of in the past we've kind of shied away from it. She hasn't had her best race there, so it's kind of been scared of it. So this year we're trying to get her up there as often as we can to just get those jitters out, and when Valley comes, let's do something special.
And I think the home course advantage in cross country is not something people think about, but it's probably greater than it is anywhere for those Fresno schools to host those big meets.
Well, I like what Maggie had told me the other night when we were talking on the phone about how she set herself up collegiately in the classroom with a 4.5 GPA, absolutely incredible student. But she knows that if she wants to be able to run, she's got to do well there. And I think she's got a good grasp that this is her last hurrah if she can do well there. Because you look at like a guy like Cameron Miller, who interned for us, was a great runner at Stockdale, is now on the team over at Stanford. He said that going down to, I think it was Arcadia, running well once got him a scholarship at Stanford. And sometimes that happens where, you have a good game of basketball, you have a good game of football, maybe they give you an idea, but you have a good run on a hard race like that. Is it Arcadia that has a really long, like 2 mile, like a mile and a half hill? Is that what it is down south?
There's Mount Sac.
Yeah, it was Mount Sac. So he said racing at Mount Sac got him a scholarship. Maybe Maggie doing well later this year will do the same thing.
The courses that most colleges want to see on the West Coast, they want to see a good time at either the Stanford course, they want to see a good time at Woodward Park, or they want to see a good time at Mount Sac. So if you can do any of those three and get a really good time there, you're going to be getting some mail.
Yeah.
Now your schedule, I guess you get pretty quickly into league meets, and then we've got the county championship coming up, shoot, just in 5-6 weeks now. You move through it pretty quickly. What are the highlights for you? And when you have an elite runner like a Maggie Baker, what do you circle?
For us, it's obviously, we have periodization where we want to, get an early season, good race under us, and that will be next week is where we want to see a fast time out of her. And we go down to Irvine at the Woodbridge Invitational.
Sure.
That's where Blake Haney went 13:55. That's
where he went nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it's just a great environment down there. It's a night meet. It's a flat course, and there's so many fast kids that you just get caught up running fast. And so that's our first one that we have circled for her to actually run really well. And then we'll go to the Rough Rider up at Woodward, where we want to see another good time. Mount Sac, and then we're in championship season, and hopefully she can fire 3 of them back to back to back.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, is doing it once, but then trying to do it again the next week and again the next week. Always difficult. Steve, your background in cross country, you mentioned you were on a very good high school team, and where'd you go after that?
Yeah, I grew up in Gooding, Idaho. We had a great cross country team there. We were always top 3 in the state every year. And then after that, I had a couple offers in state, a couple out of state in Washington and Stanislaus State. But I actually chose the furthest away from home, and that was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Mount Mercy University. That's where Catherine Vanderpool of Garces is right now.
Okay.
Molly Pruitt of Centennial and Evan Bowman of Bakersfield.
That's right. We wrote about them last
Sure.
season.
So I assume you still keep in shape, still run, that sort of thing. Usually it's a lifelong deal.
Yeah, well, that's funny. My kids, if they're watching, they're probably laughing. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it. You get out of college and sometimes, after 4 years, you just put it in miles. You think, I'm not going to do this anymore. It becomes a job. And then when I got flown out here for a job interview, they asked if I'd be interested in coaching cross country and track. And you're looking for that job, absolutely. And it's the greatest. I'm so happy I did it because that love for it comes back, and,
sure.
and I do. And the problem is I've been here 10 years, and the first year I was here, I could run up to the fast group, go back with the slow kids, run back up with the fast group, and cheer them along. And over the years,
not so much anymore.
I just keep getting. Now I'm just in the back saying, "I'll catch up. You guys go ahead." So
they'd like to try to get you to run a little bit more. I would
absolutely,
guess.
they always are trying to get me out there to embarrass me, I think.
Unfortunately, you have the authority there.
And for those that don't remember, Steve and Kim Jenkins were our co-coaches of the year for on the boys' side for track and field this season. For you, Steve, do you have a greater love for track and field over cross country, or are they kind of two in the same for you?
As an athlete, I enjoyed track a lot more. I was a 800-meter guy in high school and even in college. But as a coach, cross country, you only have one event. It's the 5K that you're training for. You don't have the 16 events and 1,000 other personalities to meet and match. So, cross country is great. Those kids work so hard, and they're usually just a great group of kids that are out there. You got to convince them that running's a lot of fun, and it can be, and that's what we're shooting for, is make these kids, not only good high school athletes, but active for life. That's one of the things with running is it's something that you can do the rest of your life through fun runs and everything else. And what I like is some of that first group of kids I had, they're still out running road races and stuff. So I feel like that part of it I've accomplished.
Following in the Steve Anderson footsteps of staying speedy into your 30s, right? That's yeah.
How do you meander through the heat and like what we're dealing with right now? I mean, obviously yesterday everything was kind of pushed back at Lake Mean just to wait for the temperatures to kind of cool off a little bit. But like during the summer, are you racing guy? Are you having them run early in the morning to kind of beat the heat, get a little bit cleaner air? What are you doing?
A little bit of both. Our varsity will race not race. They'll run in the morning, just because you never know what the temperature is going to be in the afternoon. And then we usually go at 7 p.m. in the summer, and it's still pretty warm. And the varsity it's not mandatory for them to be in there in the afternoon, but the majority of them show up there, and they're doing double days through the summer.
Right.
So the season's
Better
well
them
underway
than
now.
me.
What's that?
Better them than me.
Hey, you're in a weight loss challenge, my friend. You got to get out there with them.
I'm not running. I'll do anything else. I'm just not running. I'll
All
jump
right.
in the pool for 2 hours.
Stairmasters, go. So we're well into the season now. You kind of have that different team this year because you do have the star runner who's sort of ahead of the game of everybody else. Does that change your strategy, Steven? Normally a cross-country coach would like to see his runners in a group for the majority of a race, but you kind of have to abandon that, don't you, when you have...
Yeah, well, you never ask a kid to slow down.
Right.
You can ask the other ones to come up. And on the girls' side, on paper, when the year started, we look really good on paper, but that's why we run races, is to find out the truth. But Maggie, she needs to go out and run her race. And if we can get the other girls to come up together and just get closer to her, and that's what we want as a pack. And you're absolutely right. That's what our boys. And we've been talking about this, and that's what we're talking about later today. Is we're going to win in a pack. Liberty, in the SWIL, Liberty boys, they have a strong 1, 2, 3. But if I can get my next 6 guys in before they get their 4th,
then you have a shot.
We win.
Yeah.
That's numbers, and that's how we win. And
And we should mention Miguel Morales.
Yeah,
Liberty
that's
won the
Miguel
boys
Morales
race.
won it, and then you're talking about his other
Yesterday.
two, is
Yeah.
Robert
Robert
Sagasta and Richard Garcia. So tough run for Miguel. I mean, that guy put about everything he had, and then he had a tough 5 or 6 minutes after the race, kind of trying to
that sophomore
recover.
is tough. He's from Wenatchee that took second.
Yeah, Jaden Apoff.
Yeah, well, and the thing that you sort of learn being around the sport long enough, the guys and gals who are willing to put themselves through the most pain sometimes have the most success at the end because it can be mental as much as physical there.
That's one of our topics today is mental toughness and being there at the end and not quitting.
So that's Steven Anderson, Bakersfield High cross country coach. We're going to take a break. I don't know if we have Stan Green in the studio yet or not. He said he was running a little bit late. We may have to push him till 2:30. But we're going to talk some football. We're going to talk some Heat-related delays for Friday night with Stan when he comes in next. And we will get to that right after this break. Steven Anderson, BHS, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cross-country season.